Hi, I'm Byron. I'm a chef on a mission, traveling the world in search of great food, culture, and friends. I'm searching for culinary treasure that will help you learn to cook, expand your palate, and have fun while you do it. From Texas barbecue to Peruvian fusion. The Juanito Show. Vámonos!
Woo! The Juanito Show! Tigo TV, baby! And who am I with today?
Mike Steele with Barbecue Champs Academy. How you doing, Byron?
Oh, it's a beautiful day in paradise, baby. Woo! Yeah. So tell me, from the beginning, from your childhood, tell me why you got into all this.
All right. Well, I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, moved to Shreveport when I was 5 weeks old. So I've always lived in Shreveport, Louisiana, and always liked to hunt and fish. My dad was a big avid hunting fisherman growing up. I mean, I remember going to the lake when I was 5 years old, and we built a houseboat when I was about 7 years old. And every weekend, that was the thing for us. We'd go fishing during the summer times, winter months, we'd always go hunting, had a great time doing that. And just had a lot of wonderful experiences with my mom and dad. We didn't do a lot of traveling. Our main stuff was going to the lake on the weekends and being with family and friends. And that was kind of the start of it. I didn't have a very extravagant life, but I had a fun life with family, and to me, that's what it's all about. And my dad used to race when I was young. I remember being 5 and 6 years old. He did a little racing himself, and that kind of got instilled in me as I got older and started to be able to drive. I kind of got into drag racing, and so it would kind of transform from the hunting, fishing, and then when I became of age to drive at 15, 16 years old, then I kind of wanted to follow in my dad's footsteps of drag racing. I always loved it, and started getting into doing some street racing, which wasn't legal, but at the time that's what we did, right? We'd all meet on Friday night after school and go cruise the Kmart parking lot, and everybody would, hey, come on, man, you want to race? Yeah, let's go race. And we'd go out on the streets, out on an abandoned road back behind General Motors. It was a big, huge, all concrete strip back there of just, it was probably 1.5 miles long, and very little traffic went through it. So that's where we always went to go street racing.
What was the craziest moment? What was the craziest moment of that time? There has to be a crazy moment of your time that you remember that you're like, dang.
I remember it was such a big deal for us to get together like on Friday nights and stuff that it would be hundreds of people out there when we would go do a race. And I remember lining up to go race this guy, and literally it was a divided road. Had a median down through the middle. It was 2 lanes on one side, 2 lanes on the other side. And I remember lining up and looking down the track. They had it all marked off for a 1/4 mile. And all the way down the track, from the starting line to the finish line on the opposite side of the road, people was lined up from one end to the other. There must have been 200 people back behind us on the starting line. And I was just like, Dad, come, man, this street racing is just done gotten crazy big. And it was a lot of fun. And but as the years went on, it was in the early 1990s that they formed the Fastest Streetcar Association. And they started really bringing races for the fastest streetcars to the country to drag strips where we could race against each other. And I was really blessed to be able to get off the street, because you always worried about, getting in a wreck, hurting somebody, or you getting hurt, because, guess what? There's not ambulances and paramedics and stuff like that. And we know it's not legal, doing it on the street. It's best to get it off the street.
How old were you? Come on, how old were you?
At that time, I was probably 25 years old, 26 years old. So
full of spunk back then, huh?
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. And so we started doing the drag racing at the tracks, and they had the big race down in Orlando, Florida, the World Street Nationals, which was the biggest venue to bring the fastest street cars from all over the world together. And so we really started taking it pretty serious then. It had places we could go. You could make several $1,000s if you'd go win one of the races. And we would travel pretty much well all over the Midwest to the East Coast down to Florida. We had 2-3 races down in Florida, at Orlando, at Bradenton, Florida. And it was fun doing that. I really enjoyed it.
The transition. How did this transition it from racing to barbecue to what you do now? How did that happen?
So what ended up happening is I did the racing stuff. Basically, we probably started doing it at the drag strips in 1992. And in 1996, we were really taking it serious. I set the world record in 1996. And 1997, I developed
world record in racing?
Yeah, I had a world record in racing.
What? And that was I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was in 1996. And in 1997, I built my own engines, tuned my own nitrous. I did everything myself. I mean, I just, if you're going to beat people, you can buy horsepower from somebody, but you're only going to be as fast as what they can build and provide for you. And everybody's got that same power. So I always built my own engines. And then in 1997, I developed my nitrous nozzle. I saw some flaws in the nitrous nozzles that had been out, and I developed a new nitrous nozzle. And the first race that we went to was down at Orlando for the World Street Nationals. And I reset the record.
That's where I went to boot camp. I went to boot camp in Orlando.
In Orlando, yep. So I reset the record again in 1997. We had the record in 96. About 6-7 months later, somebody took the record from us. And in 1997, we gained the record back in 1997. And really did good. I set the record with that nitrous nozzle. Everybody knew I was doing a new nitrous system. I did not sell it to anybody. It was just for me. And I wanted to continue to win races. Right. And then in 2001, I got a phone call from Edelbrock. Edelbrock's the largest manufacturer of aftermarket parts in the world. A lot of the NASCAR teams, that's what they run, the Edelbrock manifolds and stuff like that. And they contacted me in 2001. They knew that we had a very fast nitrous car, and they knew I had my own nitrous nozzle. And they wanted to buy my nitrous nozzle from me. And I said, it's for sale. You know, everything's got a price on it.
You know?
Yeah. And
the price is right, baby.
The price is right. It's what I told him. And I had never sold it to anybody. Nobody had ever seen it. And he said, we want to buy it from you. And we got a patent on it. And they put the patent in my name. And I license agreed it to Edelbrock in 2001. And still here we are in 2022. They're still selling our nitrous nozzles today that we had developed. So
you became a champ from the beginning, baby. What?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
So and that career went all the way up to about 2012. And I just got to the point to where it's a lot of work. The car that we had was very fast. It ran like 660 at 214 miles an hour and a quarter mile. So this thing was blazing fast. And that was a 2,800 pound car with headlights, taillights, turn signals, and mufflers. It was a full street legal car. So in 2012, I kind of hung up the helmet, got out of racing. And that's all I had done my whole life, right? Was just compete. And I was kind of just antsy, sitting around the house, not being able to compete. That's always been in my blood. And I told my wife, I was like, man, I'm going stir crazy sitting around here. And she said, well, we've been watching all these barbecue pitmaster shows on TV. Why don't we see about maybe getting you into doing barbecue competitions? And I was like, well, yeah, that'd be fun. She said, well, you love to barbecue. You don't do it often, but when you do cook, you do good. And let's find out about it. So she said, look, to see, first you need to get a smoker. So what kind of smoker you want? I said, I want a rotisserie. I've always wanted a rotisserie smoker. And she said, well, see if you can find one. So I pulled up Craigslist. Guy had a rotisserie smoker on there for sale. I called him up. He was over in Texas. And he said, man, I just sold this thing like 3 or 4 days ago. He said, what are you wanting to do? And I said, I'm thinking about doing barbecue competitions. And he said, well, look, I compete on the IBCA circuit over here in Texas. And he said, how far do you live from Dallas? I said, 180 miles. He said, keep my name and number. He said, have you got anything going on the second week in September? And it was like 3 months from, then. And I said, no, I said, I can make arrangements to be there. He said, call me about a week before. So I called him up and he said, man, I didn't get my new cooker built. But he said, go over there anyway. Go talk to the head judge. The lady's name is Susan, and tell her that you want to be a judge, because they pull the locals off the street to taste judge. I mean, they're the judges for the brisket, ribs, and chicken. And she said, so they're pulling the locals right off the street. So, but tell her that you're wanting to compete, and they want you to come in there so you could try it, see what it's about. So sure enough, we went over there, talked to the lady, told her what we was wanting to do. And she said, oh my gosh, she said, yeah, if you're thinking about doing competitions, you need a judge. So me and my wife judged. We judged all 3 categories, brisket, ribs, and chicken. We kind of stayed around after the awards, got to talk to a lot of the people. It was really cool. I mean, it was just a really unique experience, how friendly everybody was and open to talk to us. And I really enjoyed that. And when we was coming back, my wife was like, she said, I think your food was as good as anything that we ate. She said, why don't you go ahead and order you a smoker, and let's go ahead and let's start doing this. I said, all right, sounds good.
Well, so the barbecue family is a family, though.
It is. It really is.
I've recorded with a lot of the 50th best barbecue restaurants, barbecuers in Texas. And, I met Tootsie from Snow's.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of the amazing people. Chef Randy Duncan, he's a good friend of mine. Tejas and Tomball and, Corkscrew and Old Town Spring. You have that community. So it doesn't surprise me that they've accepted you with arms wide open, because that's how it is. Yeah. Because we're all together.
Yeah, it was really an amazing experience. It really was. So that was September. October, I ordered my smoker. Took them 9 months to build. I had a custom-made smoker built. I got it the week before the 4th of July. So it was right at about 9 months by the time I got it. And so here I am. I'm like, okay, now I've got to figure out some stuff. I had really good ribs. That was what my specialty was cooking ribs. And I had some really good ribs, and I was like, okay, brisket. I've only cooked 1 brisket my entire life. So I cooked 4 briskets at a time. Tried them. They were terrible. No, this is not good. Cooked another 4. I was like, okay, these are a lot better. They're flavor. They're more juicy. They're not dry. I wasn't cooking them long enough that first batch. I was like, okay. So I cooked another 4 after that, and every one was always a different flavor profile. I was just trying something. And I had one, I was like, this brisket right here is really, really good, and I told my wife, I said, I think I got a pretty good brisket. I'm happy with it, the flavor, the taste, the texture. And I said, my ribs are good. I'm good with the ribs. I think I'll do good there. Chicken, who knows? It's just a chicken, right? So that same competition was like 3 weeks. By the time I had got through all this, that was July, August, and then September. It was like the first week in September. And I was like, look, that competition we went to last week, it's 2 weeks from now. Let's go to that one. We know where it's at. We know the layout, and let's make that our first competition. And she said, sounds good to me. So we loaded up, we get over there, and I talked to the Susan, and I told her, she said, you was here last year, wasn't it? I said, yep, this is my first competition. And she said, are you serious? I said, yeah, we came back. It's been a year, but this is going to be my first one. I got my brand new smoker, and I'm ready to cook. And we was talking to some of the guys, and you just brought up something, talk about family. And there was a lot of people that was like, you was here last year, like walking around and wanting to cook, wasn't you? And I said, yeah. I said, how do you remember that? He's like, you just got a memorable face and your voice and stuff like that. I remember you and your wife was walking around and you was asking questions about cooking and stuff. And I said, well, this is the first cook-off for us. This is our first one, and we're here. And they welcomed us with open arms. It was fun. And I remember, Uncle Tony Chandler, he came over to me and he said, look, you got your boxes. You heard them what they said. Your turn-in time's 12, 1:30 and 3. Have fun, make your turn-ins, and get the right amount of food in the box, and just go have fun. I said, that's exactly what we're going to do. So I got all the stuff turned in on time. I was happy with it. Thought I had some good chicken. Thought I had some good ribs and brisket. Got it all turned in. So they start with chicken. I didn't have a walk one in chicken. Didn't even make the top 20. And it was a Texas State Championship with 49 teams. So it was a big competition. So they called the top 10 ribs. Well, I didn't make a top 10, but sure enough, I was number 11 on ribs. And I was like, hey, one off from the top 10, I'm happy with that, right? So then they called brisket, and she said, well, baby, you ain't done a whole lot of brisket. So, they get to the top 5, the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd. And she was like, look, baby, we just had a lot of fun. That's all that counts. And then they called the first place ticket. And I'd be dadgum. She looked at me and she said, baby, you just won brisket at your first competition. And I was like, oh my gosh, first place. And I was like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding. I jumped up. I was screaming. I was happy as could be. I made $712.50 on that first place brisket. And I finished 3rd overall out of 49 teams that was there. And needless to say, I was hooked. That was it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I was like, this is great. So, but that was the only competition we did that year. The next year was our first full year, which was 2014. And in 2014, we went to like 10 competitions. I had 6 top 10 finishes in brisket. That brisket all of a sudden was my strongest point. I think I had 3 top 10 finishes in ribs in 10 competitions. Finally, I got a top 10 finish, 1 top 10 finish in chicken. So I started figuring out some things. That was 2014, 2015. It was still kind of doing pretty well. 2016, I started really figuring things out. I put my first grand champion together. I think I won 1 or 2 grand champions in 16. And then in 2017, it really started making sense. You don't cook the food that's like on Barbecue Pitmaster. It doesn't have to be this one bite, blow your mind barbecue, because you're cooking for local judges. That's what I kept thinking, right? You're cooking for the locals off the street. So it's got to be good. It's got to have that wow factor.
It has to be better than the local joint.
That's it. It's got to be better than that. It's got to stand out from the people that are cooking, but you don't want it to be so off the wall that it's strange to them. You want it to be just really unbelievable backyard barbecue. That's what I tell people all the time. So going into 2017, I started taking that approach. Look, I want it to wow you. I want it to be crazy good, but I don't want it to be so sweet or so salty. I want it to just be balanced and delicious. And I picked up a couple more GCs in 2017. And then going into 2018, I really started putting things together. I went to 13 competitions in 2018, and I had 12 top 10 finishes in brisket, 12 top 10 finishes in ribs, and 12 top 10 finishes in chicken out of 13 competitions. And at the end of 2018, my last 5 competitions, I had a first place brisket, grand champion. The next competition, a first place brisket, grand champion. Next competition, a second place brisket, grand champion. Went to my next competition, had a first place brisket, grand champion. And then the last one, a first place brisket and a grand champion. So I had it was a grand, a reserve grand champion, a grand, and a grand. And I had 5 first place.
Can I show some emotion for you? Here we go.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, baby,
Yeah.
look at that. That was some amazing. I mean, come on, to get so many grand champions.
Yeah.
Let me give you an emotion. Come on, we're going to jump up. Come on, jump up and down, baby.
I'm just telling you, it was awesome. I mean, to have a first place brisket, a first, a second, a first, and a first on brisket, and then to have a grand. I had 3 grands in a row, a reserve grand champion, and a grand.
Hold up, it's slowed down. Hold up. Here, hold up.
So, finishing off the year, we ended up having a grand champion, a reserve grand champion, and a grand champion. So it was a grand, 3 in a row, a reserve, and a grand. And I was just like, man, this is crazy, right? And then it was a first place brisket, a second place, a first place, and a first place on brisket. So that was like a really big year to close out for 2018. And, I really wanted to, going into 2019, I was really at that point now wanting to get involved in the sport of barbecue to help grow it, right? I mean, I had a very successful 3 years there, especially 2018. And going into 2019, I started hearing a lot of people, they were struggling. They weren't cooking as good as what they used to. A lot of new people coming in, people like me and several others, made it a lot harder, right? They just wasn't winning like they were. I heard a lot of people coming in and getting discouraged. They cooked 3 or 4 cook-offs and they couldn't keep doing it. And I was like, what can I do to help grow the sport of barbecue? So that's when I thought of Barbecue Champs Academy. I was like, what if I were to get world champion barbecue pit masters and steak grill masters? What if I could get them to come in here to my shop? I made a shop. I have this nice shop, created into a studio. And what if we were to film these world champion guys teaching how they cook their barbecue and get these world champion steak cookers and how they cook these ribeye steaks for the Steak Cook-Off Association? So I was like, that would be a really neat deal, to where it would be an online class that they could watch anytime in the comfort of their home. They wouldn't have to spend thousands of dollars traveling, hotels, taking off work. They could just buy the videos. They could watch them right out of the comfort of their home. They could watch them over and over and over. They never miss anything. So I was like,
repetition, right? Repetition.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, who do I need to call? So a buddy of mine, Joey Smith, I had talked to Joey a few times on the phone over years, and I had seen him at some cook-offs, and him and Mark Lambert had just won the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo 3 weeks prior to this phone call. And I called him up and I said, Joey, I said, it's Mike Steele. He said, hey, Mike. I said, man, congratulations. You're a world champion. He said, man, I know it. I'm freaking so excited. It's my first ever world champion. And I said, how would you like to capitalize on that? And let's make something out of it so it don't just fade away. And he said, what are you thinking? And I said, I'm going to tell you this. Please don't share this with nobody. But I said, I'm wanting to open up the world's first online tell-all barbecue cooking school taught by world champions, and you showing your techniques of how you cook brisket, ribs, pork butt, and chicken, and a 100% tell-all class. And he was like, oh my gosh. He said, that's never been done. I said, nobody's ever done it. And I'm wanting to bring the best of the best there is to do it. And he said, buddy, I am in. I said, good. Let me make a few phone calls. Let me see if I can get a few more people on board. So I hung up with him. The next day I called Robbie Royal. Robbie Royal had won the Barbecue Pit Masters show. I think it was in season 5 or season 6. I think it was season 5. At Rescue Smokers. And I called Robbie up. I had talked to Robbie a few times on the phone. And I said, Robbie, here, and I told him the same thing that I had told Joey. And he said, man, I've always wanted to film one of my cooking schools. He does a cooking school twice a year. And I said, but it's just you, and you can only sell so many of you. I said that what makes this deal unique is I'll have all of these people together in one location. He said, man, I've never got it done before. I'm in. And I was like, awesome. So the next phone call was to Corey Mikes. Corey Mikes was a 2-time world champion. He had won the American Royal in chicken and in ribs. And I called Corey. I told Corey about it. And he was like, oh my gosh. He said, I am so in on this. So 3 phone calls within the first 4 days. I've got 3 world champions. And I said, guys, I got them on the phone call. We had a conference call. I said, I'm fixing to start filming. I've got an amazing film crew. We all came in. We started with Joey. I had to drive to Robbie because Robbie could not get here in time. And I went to Robbie's place up in Sycamore, Georgia. And then about 2 or 3 weeks after that, we got Corey Mikes in here. We got on film. I started calling some steak grill masters. I got 2 really great steak grill masters. And I started that project on about the middle of March, 2019. And by June the 15th, we already had all 5 of those filmed. I got the Barbecue Champs Academy website built, bbqchamps.com. I secured that domain name. I got a really great designer. We got it all laid out. And I said, guys, this is going to be a huge deal. I think we're going to get ready to launch it. And we launched on a Friday night on June the 28th, 2019. And we put a big, huge promotional video together and we launched it, and it went viral across Facebook. All the barbecue community was sharing it, and it was selling classes. We sold like 7 classes that night.
Wow.
And it just started going, and people were talking about it. And I had one guy that I cooked with. His name is Larry Dwayne Anderson's great guy. He had 1 or 2 top 10 calls over about a year and a half. And he took Corey Mike's class, and he took it on I launched it on a Friday, took it on a Sunday. And that following Friday, so this is literally 5 days after he's taken the class, we was at a competition over in Rusk, Texas. And he walked over and he said, Mike, he said, man, those videos are great. And I was like, man, I appreciate it. I hope it helps you, Larry. And he said, well, I'm going to cook Corey's ribs and chicken. I didn't have enough time to get the stuff in to do his brisket. And he had I think he had like a 7th place chicken, and he had a 3rd place rib, 2 top 10 calls. And I think he finished like 3rd overall. He made $600 at the competition. He paid $5.99 for all 4 of the classes. He said, man, I've already at my first competition
made his money back.
I'm already up $1 and I've got it. And I didn't even cook his brisket. And I was and I was trying to be quiet. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't know if he had told anybody. And he walked there, he said, man, I done told all these guys about it. You can jump for joy. And I was like, I grabbed him, I hugged him. I said, Larry, I'm so happy. I said, I know that you hadn't had a lot of top 10 finishes. And it just thrills me of what you've just done. So he goes to his next competition about 3 weeks later, and he had a 5th place brisket. So he actually got to cook the brisket. He had like a 9th place rib. He had like a 13th place chicken. He said, man, it was my fault. I blew the chicken apart. It was like 205 degrees. And he still had like a 5th place, and he picked up like another $400. He goes to his next competition, and then he got his first grand champion. He had like a 1st place, a 2nd place, a 3rd place, and a 5th place. They actually had pork there. He won like $1,200, or like $900, $1,000. He's at his first 3 competitions. I remember he done made $1,900. He's had top 10 finishes, got his first grand champion. And then he goes to his next competition after that, drops off all 3 tickets in the top 10, picked up another $400, $300 or $400, has $2,200 in his first 4 competitions, and he was just ecstatic. And the results just continue to be like that for everybody. Because the one thing I told the guys when you came in, whatever you do not come in here and give me some fluff recipes. Give me your 100% tell all, because I said, guys, that's what's going to make us. When people buy these classes and they go out there and they start competing and winning, they're going to know this is the real deal stuff. And it
sounded like to me though is it's a reasonable price. You have knowledge of so much history.
Yes.
Because you got to think about these guys. They started when they were babies. I mean, in Texas and all that, we were around ribs and briskets from the day we were born. You know, that's just how it is. Yep. So all this history is given to you to make a wonderful videos, a platform that's everybody's gonna be able to cherish.
Yeah. And that's what it did. You know, once we got those 3 and we launched it, immediately I got to Mark Lambert, because Joey is good friends with Mark. They were cooking buddies. Right. And Mark is a 6-time World Barbecue Champion, right? He won Memphis in May 4 times. He won the American Royal. He won the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo with Joey. We got Mark Lambert in, and then after we got Mark in, we got Sterling Smith in. Smitty is a 3-time world champion. We got his classes. After that, we got Lee Hickle, which was one of the hottest up-and-coming cookers in barbecue in the IBCA. We filmed his class, and we got David Bosca. We got Craig Sherry. And then after that, we brought in Robert Smith last year, which Robert last year won the World Food Championship barbecue division. And he won like 20 grand champions last year. And Robert was on fire. So you have all the knowledge of these guys. And what we started noticing was people, they would buy one class and they would come back and buy another, and they would come back and buy another. And they were buying 3 and 4 of these classes. And then they were taking the best from his and his and his, and they were putting them together, right? And they were making their own recipes off of that. And just, you know, it's knowledge. And what they all said is you don't just have, I don't have these guys in front of a camera going, blah, 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 blah. Here's what I do. No, I'm right here on the set with them, right? They're standing right beside me and they're showing me how they're picking that brisket out. And what are you looking for? What is this? What is this? And, you know, I'm looking for the intramuscular fat in this brisket, and I'm looking for this. And why are you doing that? Because I told them, I said, I don't want to assume that anybody knows anything. We need to assume that nobody knows nothing. And that's the person that I want to talk to. And we asked them, like, why are you doing this? And I knew all the answers to the question, right? You know, but I want to, when they say something, I want to bring it out to really highlight it, where that somebody is sitting there, and I've had so many times they're watching it, and there's like something like, God, I wish you'd ask this question, you know, because they're wanting to know it. And like 3 minutes later, you're asking that same question, you know. So you're digging all this information out of them. You're asking these questions. And it's like that, like how to select the brisket, how to trim it, you know, how to make the injections, how to inject it, you know, how to make the sauce, it's everything is broken down into step by step. So it's not one long drawn out video. How to smoke it, how to slice it, how to put it in the box, you know. And we'll talk about, like, you know, if you don't do competition, if you're just a backyard cooker, here's how you do this. Cut it, present it, make it look great. You're going to be the king or queen of your cul-de-sac. And
we're together, baby. We're all together, no matter what, because there's methods, there's so many different things that a lot of people don't realize there is.
Right. Oh, there's so many things. And I remember Larry Dwayne Anderson, the very first guy that I cooked, that had bought it and we had competed, the guy I was telling you about. And he told me after that, he said, you know, he said, I have watched for the last year and a half that I've cooked, and I've only had 1 or 2 top 10 finishes. I have watched every YouTube video that I could come across for brisket, ribs, and chicken.
Right.
And he said, I have watched some of the biggest names, the best people, the best influencers. And he said, they never got me consistent top 10 finishes. And he said, and I'm cooking for local judges, just backyard people. And you know what? If it was good barbecue, I would have done good, but I didn't. And I took these classes, and immediately, boom, boom. I mean, we're talking about 4 competitions in a row, top 10 in every one of them except 2. There was 2 times he didn't have top 10 finishes. $2,200. I spent $600. This barbecue is not freaking good. It's amazing. And the locals love it. And I said, it's because these guys that cook, and people ask me, well, doesn't this barbecue like hurt your teeth and you can't take but one bite? And I'm like, no. I said, let me tell you what these world champions have figured out. And Mark Lambert said it best. He said, you got to cook balanced barbecue, and you need to kind of figure it like a square box. And I need to taste a little smoke, a little sweet, a little heat, and a little savory. And I need to be right in the middle of that box. I don't want to offend nobody with any one of those 4 things. I just want it to be very good balanced barbecue. And he said, and that is what wins world champions. And I thought he said, he actually said that during us filming one of his classes.
There you have it, folks. But you got to tell, okay, with all this knowledge that you've shared today, obviously you have what it takes to turn people into champs.
Yeah.
So tell people how they can find you. You have a website, Facebook, Instagram. Tell them how they can find you, and let's make it happen. Let's help everybody. We got to help small businesses. You're a small business.
Right.
You know,
the website is bbqchamps.com, bbqchamps, CHAMPS.com. That's the website. Our Facebook is BBQ Champs Academy. BBQ Champs Academy is our Facebook and our Instagram page. You can go on, you'll see, as soon as you go to the website, we've got our backyard barbecue class. So that was a really neat deal. After about a year of us getting this going, we brought in 5 world champion pitmasters in our studio at one time. We had Craig Sherry, we had we had Craig Sherry, Joey Smith, Mark Lambert, Sterling Smith, and Lee Hickle. And I said, guys, I want to film some backyard barbecue that's cooked on grills and like drum smokers, like a 22-inch WSM. So we put together 20 championship backyard recipes for only $99. And these are some, like, we did beef ribs, we did prime rib, we did a turkey, we did a ham. Mark Lambert did true tacos el pastor, where he shaved the pork butt and got all the Mexican spices together, right? Sterling Smith is a 2-time world lamb champion. He showed how to cook French rack of lamb. We did a Peking duck with an orange marmalade drizzle. We did fried ribs. We did moink balls. You got all these elevated, just
Nut, baby.
crazy,
Oh,
crazy.
man.
So you
Yeah.
can start with that for $99. You get all 20 of them. You can watch these recipes over and over. That's the good thing. Once you buy the classes, when you check out, it creates an account for you. It sends you your username and your password, and you log in, and you can watch these videos as many times as you like, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As long as you've got access to the internet, you can go and watch them over and over and over, and you can get them perfected. Now, the backyard barbecue classes, those classes are short, precise. They're 25, 30 minutes long. They don't quite go into the detail like our championship backyard, our pitmaster classes, the brisket, the ribs, the pork butt, and the chicken. Those are stupid detailed. I'm talking about it may be 35 videos totaling 10 and a half hours of content, right? So you can watch over and over. I've got customers that see like they trim it and then they can watch them put the rub on. They'll watch that video 10 times, watching exactly how they do it, exactly how they, trim it, exactly how they inject it. And that's what really helps them. So, and then on top of that, once we got that going, we started getting these steak cookers, right? The Steak Cook-Off Association is enormous. They're all over the world, and they have hundreds of competitions across the United States. So we started bringing in like the 2018 Steak Cook-Off Association World Champion, Terry Rohn, the 2019 points champion, Matt Overson, the 2019 points chase runner-up, John Lindsay. We got Will Collier, who was the Oklahoma State champion. We got last year's winner, the first female girl to ever win, Marissa Overson won the Steak Cook-Off Association World Champion last year in her first year of cooking. The girl is amazing, and she's the youngest and the first female to ever win it. And we showed them exactly how they cook their ribeye steak. Well, needless to say, it was a game changer for the SCA. When we launched that in 2019, 2020, we sold thousands of these steak classes. We reshaped the way the SCA is. They will tell you in the SCA, if you're not taking a class from the Barbecue Champs Academy, you're going to be very, very hard pressed to beat these people. We have produced literally hundreds and hundreds of winners of SCA events, multiple top 10 finishers. Go to our website.
But you know why?
They learn from champions.
But you know why? Because you have passion. You created this because of your passion for barbecue, for everything. But that race attitude, baby.
Yeah.
Woo, come on.
That's it. It was because I wanted to see people succeed, right?
Yeah.
And you're right there. Go to our website. Click over there where it says click where it says reviews. There's hundreds of reviews on there. People like, I bought this class. It's amazing. I mean, these are people that bought class. Some have even posted pictures. That, hey, I went to my first competition. I got a first place steak at my first competition after taking these classes. So it's really a game changer. I've had backyard people, the same thing. They said, I've watched all these videos on YouTube, and it was some stuff, a lot of misinformation. Some stuff's good, but I don't get all of it. So they're giving me bits and pieces. But when I watched these classes, it took my barbecue to a level that I never thought I could do. I mean, I literally am learning from a world champion how to go about cooking barbecue, how to go about cooking these steaks. And we have changed the landscape for backyard cookers, I think, forever.
No more misinformation.
That's it.
The Winnie Show, Tigo TV. Hey, let me tell you something. We're going to do the yell. We're going to let it out today. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, baby.
That's it, man.
1, 2, 3.
Woo!
Find it.
100%.
Find him on what's your website again? Come on.
bbqchamps.com. bbqchamps.com.
bbqchamps.com. Check him out. Go to the Facebook, Instagram. You see his passion. You see his love. And he has champions on his team, baby.
Yeah.
The Woody Show.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And make sure on Tuesday night at 7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern, we do a live podcast right from our Facebook page We do a live podcast. We bring in a lot of these barbecue pit masters and steak grill masters that we have. We open up to a Q&A so you can ask questions. You'll pick up a lot of little bitty things that they may be doing. So make sure you go to our Facebook page, BBQ Champs Academy. Follow us and make sure you got your notification on. And every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, woo! We're going to bring it straight to you, man.
We're going to put it everywhere. The Juanito Show is going to share your stuff everywhere. Everybody's going to know about where your Facebook is. Yep. Thank you very much for coming on the Juanito Show today. I appreciate your time, your kindness, your big heart for barbecue. And I'm sure once everybody sees your passion and love for it, they're going to be flooding your gates, baby.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man. Hey, as we say when we close out our class, y'all go out there, have a lot of fun, and smoke on.
Woo! We got to smoke on, baby! The Juanito Show. Let's go. Okay.
Love it.
The Juanito Show.